could give us your names and then if you're representing an organization, what that is.
My name is Corey Mineo, and I am opposed to the one-on-one.
Okay. And are you representing any particular organization?
Psychology school. I don't know. Yeah, let's say the APA.
Okay, yeah. The American Psychological Association?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And
my name is Terri Heister-Anos,
and you're in opposition to this bill, correct?
yes.
Okay, that's why you signed up. Do you want to say why?
Pardon me, Madam Chair. Can I
Yes,
get her to
Senator
speak
Nicholson?
into the microphone?
What?
Can you speak into the microphone?
I sure can. Excellent, thanks. Hello? Can you
Much
hear me
better,
now?
thank you.
Okay.
Can you say if you're opposed or in favor?
Well, you know,
Yes,
Opposed.
Senator Sanders?
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And do you want to just tell us in a
Yeah.
sentence why you're opposed?
Right. I'm opposed. Well, Terri here is a client of mine, and I'm opposed to the bill because when Terri was in school, she had behavioral problems, and with restraint and isolation and operant conditioning, she was taught not to act out in certain situations, and it gave her the behavioral knowledge and the behavioral attitude needed to succeed in the overall economy, and real world. Wow.
Thank you. Ms. Anders, anything to add?
Not really.
Okay, are there questions for these witnesses?
Yes, Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
Senator Roberts?
Yes, thank you so much for testifying today. And I do have a couple of questions, and I just want to commend you on your behavior today because you are very well behaved, and I really appreciate that you're able to come in and participate. I have constituents that have contacted me from Shiny Happy People Holding People Down Learning Center in my district, and they have some of the same concerns that were raised in the previous testimony. And so I was wondering, in your opinion as a psychologist working on these theories around behaviors, what kind of harm could come to students if we took away the useful tools around seclusion and restraint that we currently have now in our education system?
Mr. Mineo?
Well, what would happen is they would, if you took away those tools, many of the students would continue to have outbursts and would be disruptive to other students. And if you don't have a way to change someone's behavior, then in their later life it gets worse, and it causes, outbursts and real consequences in the real world, where, as in school, you can teach them to change their behavior and not have greater consequences like you would in the outside world, jail time, prison, and things like that. So and in early childhood development, someone's brain is much more plastic, and you learn better as you're a child and younger ages.
Senator Kafalis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Neho, I'm wondering, as the head of the Psychological Association, do you think that being, secluded, locked in a room, do you think that would qualify as trauma?
Mr. Mineo?
No, I don't, because you're giving the child a reinforcement. You're saying that you did a bad behavior, you will get this consequence. If you don't want this consequence, don't do the bad behavior. That's how you teach operant conditioning.
Well, just to follow up, I mean, currently use of seclusion that's even actually being tested in our prisons, that things such as isolation, solitary confinement are actually incredibly counterproductive.
Right.
So how will we be reinforcing the use of seclusion? I want to focus on that specifically. I'm just wondering from a psychological point, how you cannot think that this will not impact the child later in life, not as a positive reinforcement of behavior, but actually inflicting trauma upon this child for later in life.
Mr. Minio?
When we talk about seclusion, we talk about a punishment. So a timeout, a place for the person to cool down. When a child is in a secluded area, their mindset goes to, I did something bad. When a person in jail goes to a seclusion, it's, I hate the world, and I'm going to continue to act out. And it's going to cause me more trauma, because if someone in jail is secluded, they're secluded for the days, weeks on end. That's where that trauma comes from. We don't seclude children for maybe 10, 20 minutes for them to cool down. That's the difference. You have a wide variety of, if they're in jail and it's weeks, days, that's what causes trauma to the brain, because you start to hallucinate and see things that aren't there, and then you act out in different ways.
Senator Nicholson, I think, has a question.
Yes, have you ever thought about using Pavlov's dog theory, where you give them positive reinforcement?
Pavlov's dog theory
Mr.
is,
Minio?
for a Pavlov dog, that's classical conditioning, and that's reflexes. And this has nothing to do with reflexes. This only has to do with behavior, which is operant conditioning.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the witness? Witnesses, thank you very much. Thank you for coming from Carbondale to join us today. Yeah. Our next witness